Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got some super fun rustic DIYs to share with you that I think you're really going to enjoy. And I'm also collaborating with my good friends again, and I will talk about them here in a little bit. Thank y'all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And be sure and give me a thumbs up because it really does help my channel. Thank you. Next one, I'm taking some scrap wood that I had that measures 20.5 by 3¼ inches wide. These are just some scraps that I had, and I've already stained these with a dark walnut stain from a previous project. I'm pulling the two outside edges down 3 inches on both sides. Just make sure that they are even. Okay, then I'm coming down 3 inches on each side. I'm going to mark it right here, and then I'm going to do a diagonal from this point up to the corner of that other side. We're going to cut that off. Doing the same thing on the opposite side, coming down 3 inches, and then doing a diagonal to the point on the other side. On the two center ones, I'm going to come down 2 inches on both sides, and I'm going to diagonal to their point as well. And sorry I got out of the camera, but you're going to do it exactly like you just did the other two. And then I'm going to take this to my saw and cut those off. I got them cut. I'm going to bring each side down 3 inches, and I'm going to cut the excess off the bottom. And I'm going to do the same thing on both of them. Okay, for the roofs, I'm taking a 5-gallon stir stick and I'm going to cut them at 5½ inches in length, and I'm cutting 4 of these. To assemble these, I'm just going to use some wood glue, and I'm just putting it between each one of the panels. Now I'm doing 2 at a time because I don't have clamps big enough to go all the way across, and I am going to brace it with a piece of wood to keep it flat. And you don't need a lot of glue, and once you do get it clamped, go ahead and remove the excess glue that squeezes out. Just put those two together, put a piece of wood on both sides, and then go ahead and clamp them right at the bottom. And you don't even have to clamp them really tight, but you want to make sure that it does stay flat. And then after this one dries, go ahead and do the same thing with the opposite side. Okay, then go ahead and connect the two together. And if you don't have clamps, just push these close together as you can and let them dry. I'll go ahead and stain all the edges where I cut them, and I'm doing them the same with that dark walnut stain. And then I'm staining all my roof panels the same dark walnut. And you'll want to bevel the inside corner, and you can do that with a sander. And I'm just using wood glue on these to attach these to the little house itself. Just try not to get too much wood glue on there, and go ahead and get any of the excess off when you push it on up in there. And do the same thing for all your pieces. Just make sure you are getting the excess glue off. And then on the top, I'm going to do the same thing. And I went farther down the way and I had to scrape it off. So just do it just up to the edge where it stops. And do the exact same thing for the opposite side. And then I'm going to take some chalk paint, a chip brush, and I'm going to wipe most of the paint off, and then I'm going to start distressing it. Now, I'm going to go fast on this. I just want to show you how much I distressed it. And then you can use a water bottle and kind of squirt the water onto it a little bit to kind of soften it up. It really does help. And it kind of spreads it out a little bit more too, instead of making it just so streaky. You can just really soften out those lines. And this is how mine ended up looking. And then go ahead and flip it over and do the opposite side as well, because you do want to make sure that they match. Okay, I got this little wreath at Hobby Lobby, and I'm taking the white chalk paint and the chip brush, and I'm just distressing it as well, just to kind of make it look like it has a little bit of snow on it. So I got these little flat bamboo sticks, and I'm going to cut it into a frame. Now my picture frame is going to be 4½ by 2¾ and I'm just cutting these with my miter cutter at a 45-degree angle to make a frame all the way around. Then once you got that side cut, you can go ahead and cut your opposite side using that as a template. And then you'll do your sides exactly the same way. You can cross your bottom one over to mark the line on those and cut those as well. And then match it up to cut the other side. You're going to take some sandpaper and lightly sand each one of the ends. And then I'm going to paint my sign black with the chalk paint because I am going to put white lettering on it. I'm going to use a Waverly antique wax to stain the frame. Okay, and then I cut out the word joy on my Cricut. And if you don't have a Cricut, they have these words at Hobby Lobby. You could go ahead and buy stickers. And then I'm going to take my frame pieces and just start gluing them down to make the frame. Just try to get your pieces lined up pretty good. And then I decided to distress my sign up as well with that same white chalk paint. Just a little bit so that it did blend in. After that dried, I'm just going to glue it right to the top part of this barn. Just kind of center it in the center and then just glue it in. And I'm just using hot glue to glue this in. Okay, then I got these little bells from Amazon and I'm just tying them onto my wreath with a little bit of jute twine. Okay, next I'm just taking a little hook and I'm gluing it onto my board, and I'm just going to hook my wreath right onto that little hook. Okay, I really love the way this one turned out. After fall, I'm going to put this up on my mantle. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think you could actually leave this up year-round. Today is part 1 of 'Tis the Season collaboration with my good friends Linda, Emily, and Wendy. I will link the playlist in the description below. Be sure and hop on over to their channels and check them out. They are super talented ladies, and I think you'll really be happy with what you see there. Let them know I sent you. This next one, I'm just taking some 2.5-inch ornaments, clear ornaments. I'm removing the tops and I'm going to wipe them down with some rubbing alcohol. Now this really does clean them up to where the paint does adhere to them real well. So go ahead and do this part. And then I've just got a styrofoam piece and some little dowel sticks. I'm just going to stick these right on here, turn my ornaments upside down onto this so that I can spray paint these. And I'm going to spray paint these with a matte black paint. And I'm just using Krylon, and I'm going to paint the tops with the black as well. Next, I'm taking some brass paint that I bought at Michael's, and this is an oil-based paint, and I'm going to pour this into a Ziploc bag, and I'm only going to use about 1/2 teaspoon. Now, go ahead and wear gloves because you don't want this all over your hands, and then when you put it in your bag, just kind of move your bag, the outside of your bag around, and it'll start moving it around. And then drop your ornaments inside and just start shaking them around there. And this way you can see and on the outside of the bag how much of the brass is on there, and you can stop when you think that you have enough on there. Now the paint will start sticking to the ornaments, so kind of you'll have to pull your ornaments away from the bag and you'll have to manually move them around. But just make sure you are wearing gloves on this because you don't want that on your hands. And then take them out and just let them dry. Those did turn out pretty, and you could use different colors too. It doesn't have to be the brass, but look how pretty those are. And then I'm just going to put the tops back onto them. Okay, I really love the way that these turned out. You could do these in so many different colors depending on what your color scheme is. I'm going to use these in a bowl like this, and I'm also making a couple extra to use in my next project. Next one, I'm taking a piece of wood that I use as a shelf. It measures 8 inches wide, and I had painted it with some weathered stain. And I'm going to cut it into pieces. It's 8 inches wide. I'm cutting one at 26 inches in length, 19.5 inches in length, and then 14 inches in length. I'm going to distress it with some white chalk paint. I'm just taking a chip brush, a paper towel. I dip my paint brush into the paint, wipe off the excess, and then I'm just brushing it along. Now I'm going to brush it on and at first lightly, and then I'm going to get a lot darker. Don't want to start off dark right off the bat because you can't take it back off. So just start off light and then really add to it. And I'm adding quite a bit of white. And this is how much I did on mine. And then I'm going to take a sander and I'm just going to go right around the edges, and I'm going to go onto the face of the edge and just sand some of that weathered and the white off. Okay, so you're kind of going about 1/2 inch into the front part of the little board. About like that. And I'm doing all of them like that. Then I'm using some of the Magnolia Age Look wax, and I'm going to take a paper towel and just rub it all the way around the edges. All the place where the raw wood was. And I'm going to do that on all 3 of my boards. And then that's how that looks. The one on the left has the wax and one on the right does not. You can see it's a lot darker, a lot more aged. Okay, next I got some ribbon from Hobby Lobby and I'm going to staple it to the very back of my board and then go around to the front all the way to the opposite end, and I'm going to staple it there too. This is like wrapping a gift. And I'm using a cordless staple gun. I'll give you the link for it. It really is good. You just charge it and then it staples real good. And it also does nails. But you want to pull that ribbon as tight as you can so you can get it pretty snug. And I'm folding over the corner of mine and then stapling it. So it has double layer while you're stapling it. And I did all my boards that way. Okay, next I'm going to take my hot glue gun and I'm going to run along the edge on both sides of my ribbon. Now I'm using the medium size board to demonstrate this, but I did all three of my boards exactly the same. This one just fit on my workspace a little bit better so you could see. Next, I'm going to run a piece of ribbon around the center part of it. And I'm offsetting it a little bit. I'm not going straight through the center. I'm moving it up probably at least 2 inches from the center. And I'm going to use my staple gun to staple this on as well. And then pull that side really tight because you want it as tight as you can. And I'm going to stand it up just to look at it real quick to make sure I do have it centered before I staple it. And then I'm going to add some greenery right in the center. I got this greenery at Hobby Lobby. I'm pulling it all the way up to the top, and then I'm going to mark where it comes through the top and mark it, and then just cut that off. I had to really open that up so you have a flat space to staple, because it won't staple if you don't have kind of a flat area. And I'm just putting 2 staples in this. And then the greenery covers it all up. I'm going to use 2 of those ornaments that I made from my previous video, and I'm just going to string these on some dark brown satin ribbon. And I'm going to hang one a little bit lower than the other one. You just want your ribbon long enough so you can tuck it up underneath the green ribbon. Okay, then you're just going to slide it up underneath the greenery and then underneath your ribbon. Kind of get it centered and do the same thing with the second one, and then we're going to staple these in also. And I'm doing one shorter than the other one and one that hangs down a little bit longer out of the greenery. And I'm just turning it around so I can kind of get access to it a little bit better. Just go all the way up underneath that ribbon and staple that in. And then just trim off any of the brown that's hanging over, and we're going to glue down the green ribbon over the top of it. Just kind of get it tucked up underneath there so you don't see it. Okay, next I'm making a ribbon. I'm just doing 2 loops, and then I'm going to bring the other loop to the opposite side, squeeze it together, bring the other loop to the opposite side, and then come under the back and make another loop on the opposite side of the other ribbon. And then I'm going to come across the front to make my tail. Just kind of squeezing all that together. This is a wire ribbon. And then just cut that off. And I'm going to put a rubber band around this to hold this all together. And then I'm going to cut another little tail to go on the opposite side. Just kind of fluff it up a little bit and then cut another one just like the one you just did on the other side to match it. And then just squeeze that up in there and glue that in. And then we'll cover the complete center part up with another piece of ribbon. And then I'm going to take that same ribbon, cut it, a little strip of it, and I'll fold the 2 corners in, and I'll wrap this around the center to hold the entire bow together. And I'm just going to glue it off in the back. And I'm just going to glue it right close to the greenery as I can get it. Just kind of move some of the greenery on the outside of it and then glue that in. Okay, and then you're going to do your larger piece of wood exactly the same way. Look how pretty that is. And for the smallest package, I'm just putting one of the ornaments in here, and I'm putting it right down the center so it hangs out of the greenery towards the bottom. Hey, I really love the way that these turned out. I think they are so pretty. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I'm in a cluster of 3. I think that they really do pop well. Okay, I'm going to start with some used ceiling fan blades that I got from my Trash to Treasure video. You could just use regular scrap wood. You do not have to have a ceiling fan blade. Now this measures 9 inches across and 26 inches in length. And I'm just going to cut the end of the blade off. I'm taking a 5-gallon stir stick and I'm going to cut it at 13 inches in length. And this measures 1.5 inches across. This is going to be for the brim of the hat. I'm going to measure it. I'm coming down 9 inches on the left-hand side and 8 inches on the right-hand side and drawing my line. Okay, next I got one of these plastic ceiling tiles from Dollar Tree and I'm just going to trace out where I want my hat. This is going to actually be the hat for the snowman. And then I'm just cutting it out with a pair of scissors. Now, if you can't get one of these ceiling tiles, you can always use a piece of scrapbook paper that's decorative, just something that's different for the top part of the hat. So I'm going to connect my 2 fan blades with the excess piece that I cut off of that stir stick, and I'm just using wood glue to attach this. You will need to brace this with something. And I'm coming down towards the bottom on this because the other stir stick's going to go across the front part at the top, and it'll hold the top part together. Cover up the gap between the 2. I'm just taking some black craft foam and I'm going to glue it right over that line. That way if you see, when you're looking through it, you'll still see black. And I'm doing the same thing at the bottom. Now I'm not going to do it at the top because that's where that hat's going to cover up. It's dry. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and I'm going to attach my hat to the very top. And I am using E6000 glue as well as hot glue on this because I want to make sure that it does stay. Now these have real raised areas, so definitely take the time to use the E6000 glue on this. And I'm going to add some hot glue just to hold this in place until the E6000 glue dries. Now, I didn't tell y'all earlier, my fan blades were already black. I did not paint them. So if you get just regular wood you're using on this project, go ahead and paint it black because you want this to have a base that's black. So we're going to add our stir stick and I'm just going to use E6000 glue and hot glue on this. And just make sure that you do get it centered. And I'm adding quite a bit of the E6000 glue. And then you're going to want to put something heavy on top of this to hold it down until it does dry. Okay, next I'm going to paint the entire thing with some chalk paint in black. Now you can skip this step right here. I was going a different direction when I put this on here. But I'm going to paint the entire thing the same color black, all of it. And you need to really get down into the crevices good on the top part of the hat. It might take 2 or 3 coats to get that covered in. But go ahead and take some time on that because you do want that to be pretty filled in. And this is where I changed my mind and ended up painting the entire thing black. I am going to come back in with a crackle medium. And so I did not know if it would work as good if I didn't paint the unpainted surface and just left it. If you know that it would work the same, leave it in the comments below. I would love to know. I'm going to add my crackle medium and I am going to put a piece of tape against the edge of the brim so that it does not get the crackle medium on it. And then I'm going to use a heavy crackle medium on this because I do want it to crack pretty good. Just kind of use a paintbrush. I'm using just a regular sponge brush. It works best on this. And just make sure that you get the entire surface completely covered. And then you're going to want to set this aside to dry. I let mine set to dry for about 4 hours. Okay, then I'm going to take some white chalk paint and I'm going to thin this down with a little bit of water. You want a thinner paint on this. And then just start brushing it and brush quickly. Don't go back over areas that you already did. Otherwise, you'll end up messing up your crackle. You want to just continue to go in the same direction pretty quickly and then it'll start cracking. And I'll show you close up how quick it starts cracking. But just kind of keep your brush going in the same way, the same direction, and then get it on there pretty fast. And then that's how fast it starts cracking, and you just want to set this aside and let it dry, and it'll continue to crack. Okay, next I'm going to draw my face. I'm going to come halfway down to the body, draw my mouth so I can get my bearings in order, and then I'm going to draw my face with my eyes and my nose. And then I'm going to show you a screw up, and then I'm going to show you how to fix a screw up here in a minute. I drew the eyes, and I did not get them even, and I didn't realize it until I started coloring them in with the marker and notice that one was below and one was above. And then on my nose, I'm just going to make like a little carrot shape. And then I'm just going to outline it with a black paint pen. It's a Sharpie paint pen. And then this is where I figured out that I had one above and one below. I guess when I had it in an angle and I was doing it on camera, I couldn't really see without being right over the top of it. So I'll show you here in a minute how I fixed it. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw the rest of the face as well. And then I'll show you here in a minute. Okay, first I just started rubbing some white paint on it to see how it'd go, but then it was getting too filled in there. So I went ahead and finished drawing my eye like it was supposed to be. And then I came back in with a chip brush and just started lightly giving highlights underneath both eyes so that they blended the same. And it worked. So when you distress, it really is nice because you can fix corrections on a distressed piece of work. Okay, I'm going to go fast on this part. I'm just going to paint the top part of the eyes in black on both of them. And I'm just using a flat, narrow brush. Okay, then the mouth, I'm just going to come in with a Sharpie and I'm just going to draw it in. I'm going to have a little open mouth for him. I'm going to go ahead and color it in with the Sharpie and then paint the inside of it with the black paint. And then I'll outline the rest of it with the black paint. And then I'm coming in with the nose with some pumpkin color. And then I'm going to draw a couple little lines on the top part on both the back and the front to give it a little bit of break in the color. And then for the lower part of the eye, I'm just painting it in with a white chalk paint. And then I'm going to take a Sharpie and I'm going to give a few little eyelashes. A couple of them at the top, 3 of them at the top, and then 1 of them at the bottom. Make the eyes come alive. I'm taking the tip of my paintbrush, dipping it in the white paint, and just doing a dot on the outside edge of both of the eyes. And then I'm coming in with a smaller stylus to do a smaller dot. This is what really makes the eyes come alive. Next, to add a scarf, I just took some flannel fabric and cut it into a strip, cutting off the bottom, and then I'm going to make a few little frays down at the bottom. And then I'm going to glue it on both sides just so that it does stay in place. And this is probably about a 2.5 inch piece of fabric. And then I'm taking some little black buttons and I'm just going to run 3 of them right down the center. Okay, that was pretty much it. This one was pretty simple. Okay, I think he turned out super cute. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like these kind of videos, be sure and give me a like, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified when I have a new video. Thank y'all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if nobody's told you today, you're awesome. See you next time. Thanks for watching. And then don't forget to hop over to Wendy, Emily, and Linda's channels. I've given you the playlist in the description below. You're going to love what they've done.